Welcome to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do, because then something inappropriate might happen to you. And I'm talking to you. Alright, man. My name is Anthropos, and here we are with a Basis, Texas production. We're going to look a little bit at some news we have from the Austin American-Statesman. This is today's paper, and somewhere in the B section, police raid Catholic Diocese offices. The offices of the Dallas Catholic Church have been raided. What in the hell is going on? I can only imagine. Let's read and find out. By David Tarrant, Cassandra Jaramillo, and Robert Wilonsky, the Dallas Morning News. Dallas police on Wednesday morning raided several Dallas Catholic Diocese offices after a detective said church officials have thwarted his investigations into allegations of sexual abuse by priests. Who would have guessed? Detective David Clark wrote in a search warrant affidavit that he uncovered new allegations while the diocese hid past allegations against priests, turned over incomplete records, and made it nearly impossible for Dallas police officers to determine whether claims had been made or fully examined. Clark also took the diocese to task for its recent transparency efforts, characterizing them as little more than a public relations effort. Dallas Bishop Edward J. Burns said in an afternoon news conference that the diocese had given personnel files for all the priests named in the warrant. For all, how many is that? Okay, has been cooperating with the police requests. Burns said throughout the collaboration with the police, there are some who are not satisfied and want to look for themselves. Okay. We know we have given them the files, and so we say, by all means, look, he said. Police investigators will do so. Officers, along with federal authorities, took files from the diocese headquarters, a storage site in St. Cecilia, a Catholic church in Oak Cliff, where the priest who sparked the investigation previously served. Major Max Gueron, who oversees the police department's Special Investigations Division, called the raids wholly appropriate for the investigation. The Dallas Diocese, like other dioceses and religious orders, had promoted transparency measures in recent months. As part of a transparency effort, all Catholic dioceses in Texas on January 31st published lists of clergy members they say were credibly accused of sexual abuse of minors since 1950. Oh, well, thank goodness it's only been going on since 1950. But since the police investigation into one of the diocese priests began last fall, at least 5 new allegations of sexual abuse have surfaced within the Dallas Catholic Diocese, Gueron said. Those new accusations involve 5 priests already named on a list of credibly accused released by the diocese in January. Okay, so they're already on the list. They've already been, turned in and exposed or whatever by the diocese, but yet they're still serving, they're still, wearing the cloth and sexually abusing minors, it seems. See raid B8. Okay. There we go. Raid. Dallas Diocese officials said they had hired a team of former law enforcement investigators to comb through its files to compile the list of 31 names. 17 of those on the list were dead, and most of the allegations had already been reported. At the center of the affidavit is the August revelation that Edmundo Paredes, the longtime pastor at St. Cecilia was credibly accused of molesting 3 teenage boys in the parish over a decade ago. Diocese officials said Paradis also allegedly stole from the church. The affidavit says the police investigation began February 28, 2018, when Mary Edlund, chancellor of the diocese, contacted the Dallas Police Department's Child Exploitation Unit about allegations made against Paradis. Clark, the detective, wrote that the only reason Edlund contacted police was because the diocese knew the allegations would be made public and spark media attention. The affidavit alleges Edlund told Clark it would look better to say they contacted the police. Police said the allegations against Paradis date back decades and were known by church officials since at least 2006. According to the affidavit, Edlund, who retired in September after 40 years with the diocese, told Clark that Paradis' file, which had been turned over to law enforcement, should contain information about 2006 meetings regarding the priest. The file did not contain any information regarding the 2006 meeting between parishioners and Chancellor Edlund, Clark wrote in the affidavit. Clark wrote that he reached out to the diocese attorney, Bill Sims, who told the detective the diocese and victims had come forward were in the monetary settlement process. The monetary settlement process. Okay, so I guess that's standard fare. Of course, the Catholic Church is unbelievably wealthy. Easily one of the wealthiest organizations in the world. The settlement details remain confidential. Burns, the Dallas bishop, told St. Cecilia parishioners that officials believed Paradis had fled to his native country of the Philippines. Oh, another great place where children get molested, the Philippines. Oh, I'm sure, that's good. In January, Dallas police, which assigned Clark to investigate sex abuse allegations against Dallas clergy members, issued an arrest warrant for the former Oak Cliff priest after a new accuser emerged. Shortly afterward, the diocese released its list of credibly accused priests. According to Clark's affidavit, Edlund told officers that the diocese investigators came from the Kathleen McChesney group, led by McChesney, a former FBI agent. The affidavit says it is noteworthy that these investigators were initially hired to investigate financial improprieties involving the diocese priests, not sexual abuse allegations. Okay, I guess they stumbled upon it. It's like, okay, we're going to investigate the Catholic Church for financial impropriety. Oh, what? They're molesting children? Oh, wow. Who would have guessed? Dallas police allege the McChesney group only reviewed the sexual abuse allegations out of convenience, given they were already hired and in place. But Annette Taylor, a spokeswoman for the diocese, disagreed with the affidavit and said that from the start, the diocesan investigators, former law enforcement officers, were looking into all clergy improprieties, including sex abuse accusations. Clark says he was given only one investigator's name and that he was not aware of any experience involving this individual possesses related to child abuse investigations. The affidavit also says the identities of other investigators were never revealed to Dallas police, nor was their experience in child abuse investigations, if any. Police also asked for the names of the priests whose names surfaced during the diocese investigation and were rebuffed and told the information was privileged, according to the affidavit. It says police believe more priests' files contain information indicative of criminal behavior, but that the process has been so tainted it's unclear what they say and why they are being kept from the investigators. Those files also did not name victims or provide evidence that priests had been punished. At the news conference, the bishop was asked if he was willing to share information on every priest who has ever been flagged for a sexual abuse allegation, and not just the 31 on the list it released in January. Oh, so there's more than 31? Imagine that. When asking for a specific file or a specific piece of information, I may not be able to talk about specifics, Vernon said, but I am able to talk about the spirit of this diocese being so very transparent. Let me read that again. This is a quote from Burns, the head of the whole Dallas Diocese of the Catholic Church. When asking for a specific file or a specific piece of information, I may not be able to talk about specifics, Burns said, but I am able to talk about the spirit of this diocese being so very transparent. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. Okay. Come on, man. But Clark wrote he repeatedly ran into missing information. At one point, Clark writes that in October 2018, Barbara Landrigan, diocesan director of the Safe Environment Program, reached out to him about allegations involving Richard Thomas Brown at Holy Family Catholic Church in Irving. Those allegations dated back to the 1980s. But when Clark looked through Brown's 541 page personnel file, he writes accusations were missing. It took 3 weeks for church officials to turn over 51 additional pages from the file. Oh, tell me there were 51 pages missing from the file. But again, most of the documentation from a 2004 allegation was absent. Clark did find in the file Brown's own admission. The Catholic Church is like the 800-pound elephant or whatever, the elephant in the room, or the emperor without clothes. That might be more apropos. I mean, we all know what it is, right? I mean, we all know what it is. It's institutional, and it is the word that you can barely get it out of my mouth, pedophilia, right? They are having sexual relations with children. This has been going on for a long time. There was billboards up here in Austin just a couple years ago talking about all the, allegations and all the out-of-court settlements. The Catholic Church has tons of money, and so they shepherd these guys away. They hide them. They put them in another church to do the same thing over and over again. It's just, and they at the same time claiming that they're giving transparency. It's reprehensible. Here at You Don't Know, we don't do too much finger pointing, and when we do, we don't stay on one subject for too long. And especially when it comes to the Catholic Church, I mean, they're formidable. They could be a very formidable enemy. Very powerful organization. We are led to believe that in recent years the Catholic Church has been losing power and stuff like that. Don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. We are not terrorized by the Catholic Church like we were just hundreds of years ago. They're literally living in fear of these demonically possessed people, and yet you still have a large percentage of the world is loyal Catholics, and we see that this, whatever it is, this sexual abuse of children is going on. Okay, so let's discover this. What is the reason for this? You know what the reason for it is. Is the reason is because the Catholic Church attracts perverts and pedophiles into their priesthood? Is that it? No, that's not it. That the numbers are too high. Okay? It's ritualistic. These children are being used in rituals, in sex rituals and blood sacrifice rituals. That's what's going on. And apparently there is some gain to be had of some kind by these people because they're still doing it. They're absolutely still doing it, and they're just as guilty as can be. And I mean, the numbers alone of are shocking that this is still going on in America. Being sexually abused by clergy and high-ranking members of the Catholic Church. There you go. I said it. I mean, you can hardly call me a whistleblower. I haven't been on the inside. I haven't talked to any of these people. I just read that out of the newspaper. All right. That's right. That's right here in the newspaper. And this guy, Burns, who's in charge of the Diocese of Dallas, the investigator said that he was lambasting him or, stonewalling him, giving him a hard time. Let me read this again. At the news conference, the bishop was asked if he was willing to share information on every priest who has ever been flagged for a sexual abuse allegation, not just the 31 on the list it released in January. 31, are you kidding? So this is what he said, Burns, the Archdiocese bishop. When asking for a specific file or a specific piece of information, I may not be able to talk about specifics, Burns said, but I am able to talk about the spirit of this diocese being so very transparent. Are you fucking kidding me? This man actually said that? This other guy, this other fool, they got a 541-page report on him with 50-something pages missing, which were all his allegations against him, all his sexual abuse allegations against minors. And they said, okay, the attorneys, okay, so it's missing 51 pages. Clark said the file identified the DC victim, but not the girl from Irving. He says he asked the diocese attorneys for help identifying her. The attorneys assured me all relevant information was in the file. Clark writes, and quote unquote, there was nothing else anywhere in the diocese that would help identify the victim. Clark writes that on February 19, 2019, he asked diocesan lawyer Robert Rogers for files concerning Brown's transfers. Rogers, the detective writes, stated my request was overly broad, unnecessary, and inappropriate. Well, how do you like that? How inappropriate can you get? We're not going to tell, right? Just flat out not going to tell. So it's being covered, and there's this program by which they pay off the victims or the victims' families. Anyway, I'll find out the name of the program and put it on the screen there. So I mean, this is it. They've got a program for paying people off, the victims and the victims' families. This is. What do you, if you need some money, what do? Just take your kid up there and let them get molested and then get in the program? Give us money, give us money. I mean, it's sick. It really is. It's sick, and shame on you, Catholic Church. Shame on you. I'm probably not going to be talking about this very much more because the Catholic Church is just not the kind of enemy that I want to have. But let me tell you, they're dirty. They're dirty as the day is long. And the higher up you get in the Catholic Church, the dirtier they are. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it time and time again. And so I know what is going on, and these children are being used in rituals. Rituals involving the summoning of demonic forces, Luciferian forces, satanic forces, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And their youth and innocence and pride is being stripped away from them. And this is just, these are just the ones that got molested. This whole thing could be a psyop or a diversion, a dodge to keep attention off what's really going on, which is blood sacrifice rituals where children are killed in these rituals by these same sick motherfuckers. That's what's going on. That's pretty tough, man. That's pretty rough. We do a lot of our investigations in South America and Central America and Mexico. Obviously, all of these places are, the Catholic Church is heavily ingrained in the society there. And so in these far out of the way places, there's no telling what's going on. I mean, there's just no telling, and people more or less keep quiet. They don't trust the authorities, and they're afraid of the Catholic Church. It's reprehensible. It really is. And you need to know about that. The truth is, you already knew. We've heard this meme enough. We know that this shit is true. And we know there's more than just a bunch of perverts. Even though they are a bunch of perverts, there's a reason, there's a purpose behind this. That's why it hasn't stopped. For some reason they need to continue doing these rituals and interacting with these demonic forces that are anti-human in their vibe or in their way. This is blasphemy. It's blasphemous. It's heretical. It's outrageous. It's sick. And somebody needs to do something about this shit. That's it.